Hey guys, it's Dr. Mike at Family Chiropractic, and today we're going to be talking about slip discs. What is a slip disc and how do you know if you've got one and what can we do about it? Slip discs this is the kind of thing we see a lot of in practice. I've seen one today actually, and I was explaining it. I thought I'd explain it to you as well. First of all, a slip disc doesn't actually slip, so that's a misnomer. What happens is the inside of the disc bulges out through the outer shell, the lining. Let me show you what I mean. So this is two vertebrae and a disc in between. The disc's the shock absorber. Now, the disc, you can see there, you've got outer layers of shell, like cartilage shell, and then you've got a jelly-like substance in between, in the middle. That's called the nucleus. Now, when you put pressure down on it, what happens is the nucleus spreads out and it pushes against there and it creates this kind of a shock absorber, basically. Now, what can happen over time, I'll come to the reasons in a second, but this outer shell can get a bit damaged, can fray or split or decay, and basically that can lead to the middle bit, the nucleus, coming out. So if you look at this one, you can see that this the nucleus is kind of sticking out the side there, and what happens is then it bulges out to the side, and that's a slip disc. So the disc doesn't actually move, it's the inside stuff bulges out like that. Now, that can cause pain, but it can cause even more pain if it happens to hit on a nerve, because the nerve comes out right between the bones, which means that if a disc bulges out where that nerve root is, then you're going to get pain wherever the nerve goes. Now, a very common example of that is sciatica. So that's the sciatic nerve goes all the way down the back of the leg, big thick nerve, and it actually starts from 5 nerves in the lower back. So if any one of those is pressed against by a disc, then you're going to get sciatica, like sharp shooting pain all the way down. But depending how much it's pressed on, you could also get numbness, or you could get pins and needles, all sorts of different kind of nerve symptoms. Or in some cases, the worst kind of nerve symptoms down in the lower back is something called cauda equina, where you actually lose bladder and bowel control. You don't want that. Thankfully, in 16 years, I've only seen about 3 of those cases, so it's quite rare. Anyway, back to slip discs. So what are the causes of it? A lot of people say this is wear and tear, but I don't really like that phrase, because when you look at an x-ray of someone's back, you can't see the disc itself, but you can see the space where the disc is. And often the discs look very different in the same back that's the same age. So for example, you can look at something like this and see one disc looking the space where the disc is look absolutely fine. And then just 1 or 2 levels up, the disc's completely worn out. Now, you can't blame that on age because they're all the same age. What happened was the one that's worn out has stopped moving properly, and that's the key. So these vertebrae, they're called motion segments, the 2 vertebrae with a disc in between. It likes to move, and it likes to move properly. When it stops moving properly, that's when the trouble starts. That's when you start putting pressure more on one side, which causes all the nucleus to bulge out. Like if you imagine it like a donut, right? So you've got your donut there, you press on one side of the donut, all the jam comes out the other side. So it's kind of like that. So if you change how it's moving, so it starts twisting in a way that it doesn't like, or you're putting more pressure on one side than it's designed for, then eventually the soft bit in the middle, basically it's gonna get affected, it's gonna go the other way. So that's the underlying reason why slip discs occur. It could start with an old injury, like 10 or 20 years ago. Could be occupational, so if you carry stuff on the same side a lot, we see carpet fitters, for example, is an example of that. Could be just posture, from bad posture or from having one leg a bit longer than the other. Lots of different, or sports injuries, lots of different reasons, but they all have one thing in common, and that's they change the way those segments are moving. And then over time, things wear out quicker than they should do. So that's how slip discs occur. How do you know if you've got one? Well, it's obviously not quite that simple, because that's why we train for so long, in order to be able to diagnose these things. But generally you'll feel pain, and you'll feel pain with bending, especially in certain directions, depending which way the disc has gone out. Now you might also get nerve symptoms. That's a good example of a slip disc. And often you'll get pain with coughing or sneezing, or sitting on straining on the toilet, for example. What that means is that when you put internal pressure against the disc, like coughing and sneezing, it is aggravating it. None of these things necessarily mean that you definitely have a slip disc, but they're all signs that you might do. Can it be fixed? Yes, in most cases it can be fixed, because the body's got an amazing healing capacity. It's trying to heal all the time. It wants to heal, but it's only able to do that if the pressure and the stresses on these moving parts are the way they're designed for, the way they're meant to. So, for example, if the reason why the disc is slipping that way is because there's too much pressure on this, then it's not going to heal until you change the pressure. You get the pressure going down normally. So that's what we try to do in the clinic, is try to get things moving properly in the spine and then align it as best as possible. So you've got the normal stresses, the normal like force distribution on the spine. If you if you alleviate the symptoms for a while but you don't change that, it's probably going to come back. In some cases, surgery is necessary, but thankfully most people don't need surgery on their back. And even a surgeon would tell you that that's the last resort after you've tried other things. So normally, if you have surgery on your back for a slipped disc, it's because you've tried loads of other stuff and it hasn't responded at all to anything, or you've got very severe symptoms like really, really bad pain, it's stopping you from doing anything, or very bad nerve symptoms, for example. In most cases, you don't need surgery. But like I say, the most important thing is that you do need to get the mechanics of the body working properly again. We do various tests for it when a patient comes in with a potential slip disc to find out if it is a slip disc, but also which way it's going and whether it's fixable. Of course, everybody's different. But I hope this gives you a general overview. And if you've got any questions, if you think you might have a slip disc or you know someone who does, and you want to know a bit more about it or ask us if it's the kind of thing we can help find out a bit more, pop a comment down there or just get in touch. I'll see you soon. Take care.